So to start off with, this week is the intro to cybersecurity. Feel free to ask questions, or, raise your hand, talk out loud, or feel free to use the Google questions as well. Yeah. All right. What am I missing? I don't have the YouTube chat up. If someone can let me know about that. I don't know where that is at the moment. So our topics tonight is the languages of, you got to know languages really to get into cybersecurity. There's a lot of languages to know, although you don't need to know all of them. There's operating systems as well. And, all right, whatever. I'm not getting that up. So the networking, there's the penetration tools for kind of offensive security. There's also defensive tools for being defensive. So there's kind of a red and blue team per se. And there's also certificates. So those are a lot of fun. So to start off with languages, we got Bash, the born-again shell, which is really to Unix and Linux. Mac uses it as well. Then there's PowerShell, which is for Windows. It's a command line tool system for Windows, getting into DLLs, the APIs, scripting things, and Python, which can go across both operating systems. Then you have C, C++, and C#. Those are, of course, get compiled and whatnot, and are kind of interchangeable based on what the operating system has. Of course, it's Windows, but Mac and Linux can run that as well. So we have a question. What does red team and blue team mean? So red team is, the offensive. You're penetrating. You're can be white hat, but also black hat. You're trying to get access to something, whether if you're under contract that you're allowed to do it, you're testing the system, or you're doing a black hat and you're getting access illegally. Blue team is really your defensive. You're trying to build a protective wall, prevent people from getting that illegal access, as well as when they're contracted, hopefully they don't get anything as well. I feel like somebody from the back over there is asking these questions. What is white hat and black hat? Did I not cover that? So white hat, again, is like you're an ethical hacker. So again, you got the contract, you're being allowed to access the system. So it's you're not necessarily being illegal about it, and you're just trying to be ethical with the client. You might have restraints that you're not allowed to just bombard their system and whatnot. And black hat, of course, is just not going to care. They are in for profit or just getting the information to sell. Next up, we have assembly, which is really a low-level language, right? That's mainly machine code. We won't be going into that at all, but there is an excellent group called TAG. Their first meeting is January 28th at 7 p.m. in ECS South 4.910. So check them out if you're interested in assembly. Next up, we've got some web-based stuff like HTML, PHP. You probably don't need to know everything about those, but understand some basics. PHP has some known vulnerabilities, along with HTML. Then there's SQL, which is really to access databases. So knowing that query language, you can dump data or just actually find specific data if you wanted to, along with using it to get access that you're not supposed to have. It is used to bypass password forms. Then there's JavaScript. So that's, within your browser, you're writing a JavaScript thing to manipulate data. So how is tag different from CSG? Tag focuses on the assembly language. They do mainly reverse engineering. They kind of go with, they have compile C and stuff, and then they show it to you in the assembly language, and you reverse engineer it. So they're focused on reverse engineering assembly. Did I forget anything from them?
I would just say they focus on the low level stuff. We kind of take a little bit higher. We try to get a little bit broader umbrella over stuff. We try to get network security, system security. We kind of tried that one on a lot of different topics to help you guys kind of get more well versed in the area of security. And some of your kind of focuses just on reverse engineering mostly.
So there's all for languages. Of course, there's many more languages out there. I mean, this is just some of them. These are mainly ones that I've spent time getting to know as well. Not so much PowerShell, but the other ones have really helped me in getting started. Next up, we have operating systems. The well-known Windows and Mac, along with Linux, Unix. Mac is really based off Unix. Then there's BSD, and then there's something else down there to harass somebody called cubes. Somebody used to use that a lot, which is Linux, by the way. So knowing the various operating systems helps you, so you know what you're attacking if you're being penetration or even defensive, so you know potential vulnerabilities on those operating systems. Next up, we have networking, and there's a wide range of stuff. You have LAN, which is your local area network. You have WAN, and you have a demilitarized zone, DMZ. Demilitarized zone is where you want to have sensitive data, right? It's like your last, it's kind of like a last resort per se of a wall, where it's very restricted of who gets access to that area. You don't want that connected to the World Wide Web, or even not your entire LAN as well. Then there's the firewalls. So you want to enable ruling, which is really how the DMZ is built, is through a firewall. So that's, you're restricting ports, IPs to your firewall. And we'll go over this networking stuff in depth later on in the semester. Then there's the IDS and IPS. These are used, they're in front of the firewall, and it's also some logging done as well. Then there's the switches and hubs. Hubs is old tech. They're trying to be phased out. They're bringing in switches, because switches, you don't necessarily get to really be a middleman and see the traffic going through a switch, whereas a hub, you can do that. And then there's the cryptography of your network, of how you're sending packets. For example, when we connect to the CommicNet, there's cryptography being done through the WEP enterprise. So you're encrypting the packets that are being sent through the Wi-Fi. So next up, we have the penetration testing tools. So again, this is kind of your red team, right? Your either white hat or black hat. Hopefully not black hat. We don't try to encourage that atmosphere here. But to start off with, there's the VMs of Kali and Flare. We've mainly been using Kali. There's a wide range of tools used within the Kali. Kali is an operating system. It's a Fedora operating system that is offered by Offensive Security, and there's a huge repository list that's managed by them, where you can just apt-get and you get a tool, and it's an easy install. There are a lot of tools for that. Nmap, which is really built in Kali and Mac as well. That's a networking tool, right? You're you're scanning the network with IPs and ports. You want to see what IPs are alive, if they have any ports open, or even if they have some ports that are filtered, and you try to get around the filter. GoBuster. This is more so web page directory crawling, or even finding certain web pages. It's excellent when you have some main web page you find, and you want to know what other web pages there are, or what are the directories. You can run GoBuster and specify a dictionary listing and different extensions of that you want attached to the dictionary to find different web pages of certain extensions. Then, of course, there's the browser, which is another tool, probably underutilized. I've been finding more uses for it as I continue on experimenting with stuff. So really, we're talking about their debugging tools. How you have, JavaScript console. You can manipulate data in that way. Again, how we had JavaScript as a language. How you're looking at the HTML source code or PHP, if you can get the PHP source code, or even the JavaScript source code. How you're resending packets, changing up header information, things like that. No, we don't really want you in mapping csg.utdallas.edu. Thank you. So here's like the red side, some of the tools here. And again, we have defensive tools, blue side, right? So again, with the IPS IDS tools of logging, they're Suricata, which is used for that, right? You're logging the information where IPs are coming from, what they're trying to access to, if you let them through or not, things like that. Then there's forensics, even. Whereas you have like data and you're just trying to either recover data, and that's forensics, as well as steganography wise, right? You're trying to find hidden data within an image that was possibly sent across, things like that. Then there's the reverse engineering, again with like tag would be an excellent place to go to, so that's really what they focus on. We covered a little bit. So there's that. All right. We have a question about what about gray hats? Gray hats are kind of in between the white and black per se. It's a gray area. Something I'm not so familiar with is such as what or the original blue tubes were. Of course, I don't know if y'all ever heard of that. The original televisions, how they were grayscale, black and white, kind of mixed stuff. But so it's they're not necessarily kind of profit. They might penetrate something illegally, but more so to be ethical about it. Such as there was a few years back, the VTech had an exploit where they were not encrypting their data in the database, and they had children's information, pictures of the children even, from their devices, all into this database. And this hacker acquired it, and instead of selling it, he went to a reporter because he wanted something done about this information. He should not be able to access this. It should be encrypted to start with, and things like that. So he actually contacted a reporter and got it spread out that way. I'm not sure if we're going to show sicc examples of penetration testing. But yes, we'll certainly try to show SICK as in SICK. What happens to students that try to hack UTD? Really? Y'all want to push the envelope on this? I mean, I imagine if one of y'all did try to do that, I imagine we'll never find out what happened to you. No, let's not do that. I mean, I'm not going to encourage this. It's something we shouldn't be doing to begin with. Um, what happens to students that try to hack UTD? Well, I guess we'll find out sooner maybe if y'all don't listen to me. But yeah, so I'm kind of going to go with how DHA has a rule of don't hack your venue. So UTD is our venue, let's not hack them. By the way, DHA is a community-led organization that happens on the first Wednesdays of every month. And this is why we don't meet on the first Wednesday of every month. So it's Dallas Hackers Association. So y'all should check that out if y'all ever are wondering. Have you watched Mr. Robot? I'm guessing by you they actually mean me. No, I haven't. What about the rest of you?
I've watched it. It's pretty good show.
I found the guy who submitted the question.
How can someone get it? All right, so we got another question, and this is really a good one. How can someone get into cybersecurity when they know absolutely nothing, but the subject in CSG seems too advanced for them? Well, hopefully we're trying to not be too advanced at the beginning of the semester, right? We're trying to go over just some very broad things. We're just trying to run across the water at the moment. We're not trying to delve in and be like, hey, so this packet is doing this, da 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 da, right? You're not going to understand a word of that. We're trying to be like, hey, so to start off with, there's some languages you might want to spend some time learning a little bit about. Like we're going to be covering Bash, Python, PowerShell the next few weeks. But again, there's more languages you probably want to get to know. And then these tools, I mean, there's a lot of online guides in these tools, a lot of YouTube videos about all these tools that we're even going to be showing you. So if we seem too far advanced or the subject, I mean, there's a lot of information out there you could possibly Google and find how even there's this missing technique of getting to you of how this works. So not everybody learns things the same. All right. I believe I'm caught up on questions here. So the next thing is, again, this is more so for your white hats where there's certificates, right? They want to be ethical. And there's these certificates that they acquire, which will kind of prove to employers or even people who are penetration testing their clients that, yeah, we're going to be ethical about it. We know what we're doing. We understand the laws implied and things like that, how we don't want to do anything illegal. And so to start out with, there's offensive security. Again, people who provide Kali, which is free, although their certificates are not, by a long shot. They have OSCP, which is really their entry level. Certified professional. They got OSWP, the wireless professional, and then CE, certified expert. They've got a few others as well. Then there's the CompTIA. They have many more certifications than this, but the two, like, we would encourage you really to be working on is Security Plus and Networking Plus. And also Cisco has various certifications for their equipment as well, along with there's a UK company that offers certifications for mainly their UK employees, right? So what languages are most vulnerable to attack? Basically all of them at one point in time. I mean, it's over time they get more secure, but then there's some vulnerability that gets put in them again without thinking. So probably they're all equally vulnerable. Anybody want to correct me on that or more knowledgeable?
There are some languages that are designed to have better safety and type constraints. Functional languages, because everything's immutable, tend to be a little bit better. It's hard to get like a buffer overflow in those. And then languages that you can formally verify tend to be pretty good too, because you can actually mathematically prove that certain attacks are possible. Say like the more powerful the languages, like the lower level access you have to hardware, the easier it is to be a bad programmer and cheat things.
Yeah. All right, so what kind of talks is CSG planning to do this semester? Well, again, we're going to do those 3 languages, Bash, Python, PowerShell. We're going to go over some networking. We're going to go over some penetration tools a little bit. We're not going to go too far into those. I mean, again, it's like we're trying to introduce people for the most part, right? So it's like you're getting started, so we're trying to help you get started. You know, you're interested in the field. We don't want to give you too much and then you be like, well, to hell with this, right? So that's our plans for this semester. And are you going to show us some resources that you recommend? Immersive labs. I have not used immersive labs. I mean, I know you can Google a lot of things. I know I've used Hack the Box, which is really you're trying to penetrate some VMs when you connect to a VPN. Possibly a little bit too much at this point in time for people who are just getting into this field, but it's a good thing to kind of exercise a little bit. Even if you're not wanting to do penetration testing, it still kind of encourage you to learn things, right? Because it even shows you things that you should be preventing if you're going on defensive. So, any other questions? Is CSG set up like a semester-long course, or would you recommend staying for multiple semesters? Well, we're not a course, we're a club to start off with, right? It's like you're not required to be here. You didn't pay money to be in here. It's like you're spending your free time here. So it's kind of you do you, right? But again, if you're interested in the cybersecurity field, I would say try to be here as much as you can. So multiple semesters, sure, as long as you're at UTD, right? Because that's what our audience is UTD students. All right, then we got how can you make the most out of joining CSG? So I'm hoping they mean by the audience is in you. So again, it's get involved, right? Join the Discord, really get to know people, you know, be socially involved. We love to share information, what we've known. Like we have a news channel in Discord, and we love people always posting recent vulnerabilities, recent attacks, things like that. We also post some learning resources as well. So we post about tools, things like that. And as well, it's just in person, we talk about what we're doing even. So, and honestly, later this semester, we're going to have something called Fire Talks. And that's where people who are more advanced in this field get to talk about what they've done. Hopefully they get to show off things. So not only are you going to be seeing how I get started, but also, hey, someone who was at your point in time are now doing this as they're showing it to you, right? So hopefully that does encourage you to get into this field. Alrighty. So upcoming events. After this meeting and next week, we're doing resume critiques for this intern fair and the career fair. So be involved in that. Get yourself out there. We have Engineering Week, which is not CSG in particular. This is the ECS. They're hosting this. It's from Saturday to Saturday. There'll be a lot of venues out, so be involved with that as well. There's Neverland, the CTF upcoming up, which is geared towards middle schoolers. So again, people that are new and you kind of want to get an idea what's cybersecurity and you want to kind of have some fun doing it possibly, join that. Sign up for it, try to participate. It'll probably even be available after after the competition has actually ended, so you don't have to spend all your time that weekend getting involved. Hopefully it'll be up where after the weekend you can still spend some of your free time looking at challenges and learning what all is going on. Some more advanced people, the SOC battle. This is a blue team. This is the challenges are real life possibilities of vulnerabilities or attacks that are happening, and what should the blue team do to respond. So, and that goes on for a lot longer, as I imagine the challenges are very difficult. So I'm not going to encourage people who are just joining us to get into that unless you really know a lot about what you're doing. And again, please sign in.